Today on the podcast, we have Gina Judge. Gina Judge is the owner and founder of the Millennial Money Guide, a financial literacy company inspiring women to take control of their finances. By becoming financially literate, Gina paid off 5-figure debt, built a 6-figure net worth, and quit her 9-to-5. Gina is an award-winning financial consultant, podcaster, whose mission it is to help you become the best version of yourself.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. Gina, welcome to ThinkSpace.
How's it going?
So how are you feeling today?
I'm feeling great, to be honest. I just wrapped up my summit recently, so I feel like I'm finally able to relax and I'm not planning, and yeah, it's nice.
So tell me, how did the summit go?
It went amazing.
For anybody who doesn't know, what is the summit?
So we hosted the Rich Girl Summit. It was me and my very small team, and we had 200 women come from all across North America to join us for an 8-hour day where we taught them about everything related to money, from your money mindset, teaching them about registered plans, how to invest, how to manage their cash flow, and also just building a financial plan where they can walk into 2026 feeling confident about their money.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so one thing that I've just loved being in your vicinity, in your world, is like, I truly believe you when you say that you want women to be financially literate.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like, yo, this is a good business plan.
Yeah.
It's just like, it's from your soul.
It is, yeah.
So where did that start for you?
For me, because I was raised by a really strong single mom, I saw early on in life how much it can impact a woman when she's financially illiterate. And for my mom, she constantly lived in survival mode. So growing up, she was working 3 jobs at a time to provide us with the absolute basics from food, shelter. And for me, I always wanted better for myself. I feel like a lot of us, if we want to have kids, we always envision giving our kids like a better life or childhood than we did. So for me, growing up, it was really tough. And then eventually when my mom got remarried, my stepdad was a really big alcoholic and super abusive. And I basically got kicked out of my house when I was 18. And that's really why I'm such a big believer in women leading financially independent lives, because I had to learn about money when I wasn't ready to. And I really built, I ended up in a mess. I built up credit card debt. I ruined my credit score. And becoming financially educated, once I started working within the walls of a bank and understanding how money works and using it as a tool, was when I was basically able to become debt-free, rebuild my savings, start investing, and then I purchased real estate at 23. So my why is teaching women that regardless of who the strong man is, because some women have like a really good relationship with their dads, a lot of women are banking on a man to save them financially. I always say that a man is not a financial plan because none of us really know what life has in store for us. So becoming financially educated, money opens up doors and it gives women options.
100%. So, okay, being that 18-year-old gets kicked out of her house, and building up credit card debt.
Yeah.
What was your relationship with money at that point?
I was so anxious. I had worked my entire life, being raised as a child of an immigrant. Our parents often tell us to save, save, save. Mm-hmm. They don't tell you what you're saving for. They don't teach you how to invest. But I'd worked so hard to save. And then I remember I moved out and I was spending as if I was living at home despite paying for rent, having all these new bills. So my savings was going down, down, down. Even though I was raised by a single mom, she'd worked her entire life to save for my education. But my stepdad was adamant that she not help me once I left. So I tried to get a student loan, didn't qualify, ended up putting my tuition on credit cards, which is like a never, never plan. And I racked up quite a bit of debt. And I remember I washed through my savings and how crappy that made me feel. And then I also remember it would keep me up late at night. I was too ashamed to talk to my friends about it. I didn't have a mentor or an older woman even guiding me. And it really kept me up late at night. So I had an extremely avoidant and anxious relationship style with money. But that changed once I became financially educated and I started to learn how money works. Now I have a secure and very confident relationship style with it.
Through the exposure of creating a relationship with it. So okay, so you're stacking the debt, you are making decisions. I know what you mean, spending as if you're living at home.
Yeah.
When were you okay, I can't avoid this anymore? And what was the first couple steps you took?
I would say it was really by fluke. I started working at a bank. I started working as a teller. It was meant to be a part-time job. But once I started working within the walls of a bank, one, you start looking at people's bank accounts because you do it for a living. And then I'm like, holy crap, there are some people who are lawyers, who are dentists, and they are living paycheck to paycheck. And you would think someone making 6 figures wouldn't be living paycheck to paycheck. So I almost started to create these profiles for people where there'd be a single mom coming in, maybe she's a teacher, and she would have more saved up than like the doctor or lawyer that's living paycheck to paycheck. And that's when I realized like it doesn't matter how educated you are or how much money you make. It all comes down to what you do with the money that you make. And I feel like that almost inspired me to be like, hey, you need to get your shit together. You're finally in a space where you're surrounded by people that know what they're doing with their money. You have the tools and resources. So beyond just learning within the walls of a bank, I also started to immerse myself in that world in my spare time. And it became fun and exciting for me, right? Like I became debt free, and finally I was able to like sigh with relief. And I'm like, okay, what's next? I want to learn how to invest. So I started doing that. And once I felt more in control with my money, I realized I could use it as a tool. Like I was traveling without going into debt. It was opening up more and more doors. And that's essentially when everything changed.
Yeah. So, okay, so you start making different decisions with your money. You pay off your debt and you're starting to invest. Tell me the difference between saving and investing.
Really good question. So saving, you could be putting a percentage or a fixed dollar amount aside from your paycheck. But when we put money in a savings account, it's not actually growing. Like maybe you'll get a few dollars at the end of the month if you're lucky, but your money's never going to grow if you keep it in a savings. When you invest your money, you're either putting it into an asset or a vehicle that's going to grow over time or provide you with a steady stream of income. So investing is the only way for women, for example, to save for retirement, because the average woman needs 1.7 million. Investing is the only way, especially if you live in BC, where you're going to be able to save enough for a down payment if your goal is to purchase real estate. So investing is the only way that I say woman or anyone is going to be able to save for bigger goals like homeownership, retirement. Kids are so expensive. Like you need to learn how to invest.
So then what was your investing journey like?
So I started off with mutual funds, which I didn't know any better. And I also had my mutual fund license at the bank. And mutual funds are basically the only investment option that banks offer when you go to the physical location and ask to learn more.
And what's a mutual fund?
So a mutual fund is basically where multiple investors come together, their money is pooled, and then shares of that mutual fund are bought. And there's usually like an underlying, for example, like an index that it's following. But the difference between mutual funds versus like an ETF, which is an exchange traded fund, is that the fees are a lot lower and how they trade is completely different, because mutual funds don't trade on the stock exchange or in the stock market. So the easiest way that I can put it is when you go to the bank, they basically are, I always say banks are fancy businesses that sell financial products.
Oh my God, when I learned that,
yeah.
Oh my God, did my life change?
Right?
Yeah.
So it's like you are being sold these products. You're being told that this is what's going to help your money grow, but they charge such high fees. So what I teach my clients now is that you can do it yourself. And the average woman or person, if they invest on their own and take a like do-it-yourself approach, they'll save over $300,000 in fees in their lifetime. And it's really not that difficult.
Yeah. And what is like empowering about doing it on your own?
I would say, one, when you start to see the money growing. Two, when you're doing it yourself, I would hope that you understand what you're doing. So it's just like having that education and financial acumen to be like, hey, my money is growing, or I'm putting it in this ETF because it tracks this index. And just being in complete control and having the ability to like buy and sell and like even making up your own portfolio is empowering. But I would say over time, once you start to see your money grow when you're doing it yourself, it kind of just solidifies that you know what you're doing. Because at the bank, yeah, you think you're trusting someone else to manage your money for you, but you'd be surprised with mutual funds. The bank advisor or investment advisor gets you to answer a series of 10 questions, and then they put everyone's money into the exact same fund, which is more of like a cookie cutter approach. But it's like personal finance is so personal, right? What makes sense for you might not make sense for me. But if the bank is just putting everyone's money into the same fund, they're not actually working in your favor.
Okay, so as you're learning that, like your personal finance is so personal.
Yeah.
This bank model maybe is not the way that I would want to maneuver this.
Totally.
Like, what's the shift? Like, how do you then go off into your own world?
Such a good question. I would say you need to reverse engineer all of your goals. So something that I teach my clients is, instead of just blindly putting money away into a savings or an investment, you actually want to start by reverse engineering and asking yourself, like, what am I saving for? And that could be multiple goals. Like it could be my wedding. It could be that property that I want to purchase. It could be that vacation home in Mexico. So you want to start by writing down your goals, and then associating a timeline with those goals, because ideally if your timeline is 3 years or longer, that money can be invested. But if your timeline is less than 2 years, you don't actually want to put that money in the stock market because you could risk losing it. So start by writing down your goals, associate a timeline, try to figure out how much you need, work backwards. And from there, you'll basically have like multiple accounts or buckets that you set up where you're saving for said goals.
So, okay. I love that. A part of me wants to like almost ask like also, is there a psychology attached to the fact of just like having a date? You know how we all need deadlines? Like just like knowing that you have daily targets. Like even if you like think of like atomic habits, it's like having those micro goals, having that big goal. It just, you feel like you're hitting some level of like success in the month.
Totally. I think that's really important, because if you're not setting SMART goals per se, right, and you're just blindly putting money aside, and I would say a lot of our generation does that, because I'll look at people that have all this money in a basic savings account and they'll be like, well, I'm saving for a down payment. And then I'll say, okay, well, how do you know you actually have enough for that down payment? So I would say practicing mindfulness with your money is so important, and it's not something that people actually do.
So what is mindfulness with your money?
Really good question. So I would say on a weekly basis, ripping the Band-Aid and actually looking at your credit card app or statements. A lot of people are scared to look at their credit card statements or log into their apps, because then they have to sit with how much they've spent at Cactus Club or like food over the weekend, right?
That was me. Like I was so avoidant, like to the point where I would open up my app and I would like feel so much sensation in my body. And I'm like, hey, my life's not going to change unless I open up this fucking app every day.
Exactly.
And start to get comfortable with it.
Yeah. It's like you have to listen to your nervous system. So that's an anxious relationship style with money, or maybe you're avoiding it altogether. So I'd say really good money habits or a money routine that you can build is checking your spending on a weekly basis, checking your credit score on a monthly basis. When it comes to investing, if you can automate on a weekly basis, even if it's $50 a week, into your TFSA that goes into something like an ETF, over time that will start to grow. But mindfulness is everything. So check your bank accounts weekly, check your credit score monthly, and then once you start investing, you can check on your investments quarterly.
So, okay, mindfulness is the act of awareness. So what does all that awareness then do for the individual?
It basically shows you that you're on track to save for said goals, and that propels you forward, because if you're not practicing mindfulness, maybe next month a bill comes up, or maybe you feel tempted to like buy those pair of shoes that you've been eyeing. And if you're not practicing mindfulness, it's easier for you to pull that trigger and maybe spend your money foolishly, versus if you are actually keeping track of like, how far am I from that goal? It builds discipline. And then maybe you're not going to blow your money on that pair of shoes that you don't need. Or maybe you are, because you're like, hey, I can treat myself to that because I'm still on pace to have enough saved for my goal. Yeah.
When because you mainly work with women, right?
Yes, I love working with women.
I love working with women. So like when you first started working with women, what were like the common threads that you noticed between them all?
That's a really good question too. So it's interesting because I'll always, I create little profiles for the clients that I work with. Some women are so anxious when it comes to managing their money, they just do absolutely nothing with it. And they could be sitting on hundreds of thousands of dollars, but because they're so scared to make mistakes, they do nothing. And doing nothing is almost worse than doing something and making a small mistake. So inaction is one of the worst decisions you can make with your money. The second is I see women that are extremely disorganized with their money. Like they'll have their money in multiple bank accounts, just sitting in basic tax-free savings accounts or RSPs. They don't even know where it is. They barely check on it. So there's no organization or consolidation that's taking place. And then the third one is just blindly spending. And those spending habits can become very toxic, and they use it as a coping mechanism without realizing that, every time you buy something off of Sephora's website, Amazon, you go to Aritzia and you have a shopping spree or shopping haul, it's because you're likely making up for something. And maybe it's because you got into an argument with someone at home, your significant other. And when you buy things, it releases dopamine, but then you build this this toxic habit where you're just buying things to make yourself temporarily feel better. And that can even lead to women being in credit card debt or not saving as much because they're just blowing their money on things.
Yeah, retail therapy.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, so it's funny. One of the questions I wanted to ask you, I was like, so there's spending your money, there's holding your money, and then there's making money, right? So can you walk us through kind of the psychology of all those things? You just walked us through the psych of spending. So maybe the negative or what's the polar to it? What's the opposite side of what's healthy spending?
Okay, that's a really good question too. So when it comes to healthy spending, I would say the best tip that I can share is that when you get paid, pay yourself first. So
And what does that mean? Because we hear it all the time.
yeah, it means automating your paycheck where the minute you get paid, like if you're on a salary, it could be, hey, the minute I get paid $500 automatically moves into my investment account. So now you're almost treating your savings and investments as an expense. Like you would never forget to pay your rent, right? And I always say if you treat your savings or investments as an expense, there's no reason for you to never not save or invest. So paying yourself first, paying off all of like your full credit card balance the minute you get paid, because a lot of people, and there's no shame, but the average Canadian carries $8,000 in credit card debt. So a good healthy habit is the minute you get paid, paying off all like your full credit card balance. So you're kind of restarting, right? If you get paid bi-weekly, you've wiped that out. You're saving, and then whatever's left over is yours to spend. Yeah.
Okay, so that's spending.
Yeah.
So let's talk about saving now. Like, what's the negative? I don't like using negative and positive, but what's the not so healthy and the healthy side?
So when it comes to healthy and saving, it's having that system where the minute you get paid, money moves automatically, right? And that's a really easy system to build if you build the discipline and the systems like with your cash flow. And then I would say the not so healthy that I often see, and I'm sure a lot of people can relate to this, is you move money into your savings, but then you end up dipping into your savings like shortly after, right? So sometimes women will be like, oh, like I keep putting money in my savings, but then like this came up, so I dipped into it and my savings is never growing. So what that demonstrates to me is that you actually don't have a proper budgeting method in place because you're initially over saving, but then when rent comes up, car insurance comes up, gas comes out, all your subscriptions come out, well, you're dipping into your savings. So I would say a lot of people struggle with their cash flow where they haven't actually built a budget where they're taking a look at how much income is coming into the household and where it's going throughout the month.
So like, okay, because there's a lot of philosophies on budgeting.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, first question then is like, what's your philosophy on budgeting?
I like budgeting to zero. So the idea that you take every single dollar from your paycheck and it's allocated to some category, whether it's your fixed expenses, your variable expenses, which is the wants in your life, or your savings and investments. So when I build out a client's budget, let's say they make $5,000 a month. Let's say, $2,500 is going towards their fixed expenses, and then they have an additional $2,500 left over to go towards their wants. Every month, I would say we're going to put a fixed amount into your investments, like in Wealth Simple or wherever the case may be. So at the end of it, when you take a look at the surplus or deficit at the bottom, it's a zero because you've allocated every single dollar, and that works really well.
That's actually the method I love too.
Okay, good.
But, okay, so my question for you here is like a lot of people feel so adverse to budgeting.
Yeah.
Why is that?
Because they've never built one correctly, I would say. If you build one, and I built thousands, and I can confidently say that most people don't create it correctly. And the reason being is they're very short-sighted. They'll think about their monthly expenses, but when I build my clients' budgets, yes, we'll think about rent, your car payment, gas, et cetera, et cetera. But then I also think, like, where is Summan spending her money throughout the year? How many trips is she going on this year? Does she have to pay for property taxes? Does she have any licensing fees? When it comes to her business, are there any unexpected expenses that are going to pop up over the next year? So not only do I think about their spending on a monthly basis, I really capture it for the year and I turn certain expenses monthly. So to take that a step further, let's say Summan tells me she's spending, I don't know, let's just say $1,200 on vacations next year. I would say, Summan, we're going to budget $100 a month for travel. Take it a step further, open up a separate savings account for vacation. And then every month you're going to put money into that vacation account. It's going to start accruing. And now you're forcing yourself to save for something that you will likely spend money on, but it might be 6 months down the road.
You're preparing for it.
Exactly.
Yeah. And then, okay, and the other side of like, I totally get that, not budgeting properly and not budgeting for everything.
Yeah.
But why do you think that people have such a tough time like making the habit of budgeting? And what is like a healthy habit of budgeting?
Yeah, they don't prioritize it, to be honest. And life gets busy. Like we all have things going on, whether it's your relationship, your family, your work, you're working out. People aren't prioritizing it. But then what ends up happening is if you're not prioritizing it, you're also not practicing mindfulness with it, right? And then that gets you to a point where you're probably not seeing any progress with your financial goals. So I would say, like, let's take it back to the basics. Like, start fresh. Print out 3 months of bank account statements. And I always say that's historical data on yourself because my 3 months of credit card statements are going to look completely different than yours, right? And so when you're printing out this history on yourself, I want you to highlight, like, Like, how much did Summan spend on entertainment and fun last month? And I always say we socialize over dinner and drinks, and a lot of society overspends on food. That's the number one area. It doesn't matter how old you are. That's the number one area people overspend in. So when you're assessing your expenses over the last 3 months, really add up how much you've spent in every single category. And one, people are always surprised, because I did this with my students at my summit, and they were like, damn, Gina, like, I didn't realize how much I was spending. They'll notice certain subscriptions that are running through their accounts. So that's step one. That's mindfulness. Once you've built your budget, look at it every 30 days. And if you're in a relationship, take it a step further. I talk to a lot of my clients about going on routine money dates with their partners. And it sounds silly, but it's really not. Like, you want to sit down with your partner and making sure that both of you are on the same page, especially if this is someone you want to settle down with. Money is one of the leading causes of divorce and breakdowns.
And your life partners, like, money is a part of that equation.
Exactly. So look at your budget monthly. Like, that's where you want to start. And if you want to take it a step further, like, do it with your person.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel like when I did that activity, I realized that I was an Amazon Prime subscriber.
Yeah.
Didn't even know.
Yeah, see?
For over 2 years. I was like,
how much are you
what the
paying?
fuck?
Yeah.
I was able to reverse the charge, thank God, because I never used it.
Yeah.
But I was shocked. Okay, so then let's say let's go to the making money.
Okay.
Because something like in my own personal journey.
Yeah.
I learned a lot about, like, okay, I had an anxious style with money. I was avoidant with it as well.
Yep.
And then I was like, okay, I really got diligent, got into my budget. And then I was like, okay, the only next step is make more money.
Yeah.
And so it's like, I'm very curious, like, what is people's mindset, or like the healthy and not so healthy about making more money?
Yeah, so I would say when it comes to making money, it's something that I hone in on, because you don't want to cut back in every single place of your life. Like, what kind of life are you living then, right? But then also in certain cities, depending on where people live, it's really expensive. So one of the things that I actually hone in on with my clients, or what I preach, is that you do want to find ways to make more money. Start with your skill set. Is there something that you're really good at where you can start a side hustle? Like, for me, I realized that I'm really good at giving people consulting advice when it comes to their money. So what did I do? I started a side hustle. And when I didn't know how much I should be charging, the first thing that I did is I actually went on Snapchat like 5 years ago before I started my business. And I'm like, how much did you pay me to give you advice for an hour when it comes to your money? And people are like, $50, $70. So then I created a service, and I just went on Instagram and I'm like, hey, I'm taking clients. So the point being is, like, if you have a skill set, like something that you're really good at, and better yet, if you can align it with your purpose, try to see if there's a way for you to monetize it. Now, that might not be the case for everyone. So what I would say is, can you get a second job? Can you potentially work more in the sense of working overtime? Like, I work with a lot of women that work in healthcare. And I would say most people that I meet, because it's so expensive to live where we live, they do want to make more money, but it's just a matter of not always knowing where to start, or they feel discouraged, or they feel overwhelmed where they don't do anything. Yeah.
Like, it's too much for them.
It's too much, and they don't know where to start. So again, it's like information paralysis, similar to like women say they want to start investing, but then you watch all these videos on YouTube, you read all these books, and then you're like, oh my gosh, information overload. I don't know where to start. So then there's a paralysis that's taking place.
Yeah, and then you do nothing. And all you know what it is? You have to take the first step. I always say, like, the knowledge doing gap.
Yeah.
Shorten the knowledge doing gap.
Yeah.
Just, like, do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay, so you start this side hustle 5 years ago, you said?
Yeah, 5 years ago.
So talk to me about the journey of this, because I've witnessed it grow online, but like, what has it been like for you building a business around financial literacy? Like, start me like 5 years ago.
Yeah, so 5 years ago, COVID hits. I'm a very type A person. I love my routine. So the minute my routine's disrupted, I feel like my life is ending. And that's literally what happened with COVID. So during COVID, start working from home. I worked for a bank at the time, and the bank didn't know how to navigate the pandemic, by the way, because all of a sudden, all these people were defaulting on their mortgages, their loans. In fact, one of the stories that always stands out to me is I had this woman call in, and she's like, my daughter has a disability. She receives a formula through a feeding tube. My husband is stuck abroad. I need you to stop my mortgage payment because we cannot afford to make it. That was what people's reality looked like during COVID, right? And then I remember I'm like working from home, and there's like, our phones are constantly going off. Like, we're a really small department, but because we dealt with mortgages and loans, people were defaulting left, right, and center. So first off, I was like, holy, like the average Canadian can't go 2 weeks without a paycheck before they're defaulting. And I'm like, there's a pandemic within a pandemic, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So then I'm like, okay, people need help. And I'd always wanted to start a podcast. So now I had time. So I ordered a mic. had no idea what I was doing, downloaded Audacity on my MacBook.
I love it.
Yeah.
She's making it happen.
Right? My friend Justin made me a little intro and outro. Looking back, I was like so ghetto. But
hey, everyone needs that homie, okay?
Right?
Yeah.
So I made a couple of episodes, posted them on a platform called Spreaker that distributed it across like Spotify, Apple, Amazon, Audible. And then within a month, my podcast was trending under self-improvement and education in Canada. Then it hit the top 100, then it hit the top 50. My Instagram started blowing up because I was also making financial content. And it just kind of happened. Like I didn't start my business thinking I was starting a business. I wanted to solve a problem and I wanted to create a safe space where women could learn all things money and not feel judged. And from that, like something beautiful came out of it. And within 3 months, I had started my consulting company and then I 3x my corporate salary because I quit my job and I started doing this full time. So I've always felt like there's just so much purpose and alignment with what I do because it comes from a space of wanting to make impact. And the most beautiful way to make money is when you're doing something that you love that's purpose driven and you're making it
100%.
and generating income.
Yeah. Like, and that's what I mean. Like I can feel it's from your soul.
Yeah.
And you can't lie. You can't lie about that.
Yeah.
So, okay, you're doing your podcast, you're doing your content. Like, and I'm asking you more now as like Gina, the person, right? Like, how was that experience for you, putting yourself out there and making the content, getting it done? Like, as you're meeting your edges, like, is it easy to grow? Like, even to like scale in 3 months? Like, we've had businesses that have like been a slow growth and some that just like overnight.
Yeah.
Both have different problems.
So at first it was awkward. I'm like, what am I doing? I'm talking to my iPhone. This is so weird. Like, you know, anytime you first start making content, I'm like, okay, cool. Yeah. And you just keep doing it. So I would say the content creation side, it's almost like riding a bike or driving a car. At first it's uncomfortable, but then it's second nature. You pick up a phone now and start talking into it and it's like nothing to me. When it came to creating content, I would say because I stayed consistent, my page grew. I know a ton of creators that have hundreds of thousands of followers where their content just goes viral. The algorithm doesn't necessarily always favor my content, but because I've stayed consistent with it, there hasn't been a single day in the last 5 years where I haven't posted on my story. The consistency is what allowed me to grow and just being open, raw, and vulnerable. Like I'm not scared to share my money mistakes that I made. I'm not scared to share my own money journey. And as a result, I've connected with a lot of like-minded women who have dealt with similar challenges or adversities, or even women that just have concerns when it comes to their money. I've created such a safe space and community where they come to me and they know I'm not judging them. And again, I'm also a subject matter expert, so the advice that I give actually works and helps.
Can we double click on that? Like that part of shame, right? Because I think money, so like there are very few things in life that's a universal experience. Money is a universal experience. Every of the 8 billion of us, everyone has a relationship with it.
Yeah.
So like that element of shame, how did you navigate it? And even just being vulnerable with your story, like, how did you navigate it?
For me, one of the reasons that I feel so secure with money now is because I'm able to own my story, which is, I got kicked out. I had no one helping me. I ended up in debt. I'm not ashamed of that because one, it turned me into the woman that I am today. And I also want to show women that regardless of where they're at in life, you're never a product of your circumstances. So maybe you're sitting on 6 figures of savings, but you just don't know where to start. There's no shame around that. Like ask for help. Maybe you're in debt right now. Hey, I've been there. It's okay. Like the average Canadian carries an $8,000 balance. You have nothing to worry about. So we just have to take the shame out of money because like you said, and something that I always say as well is you don't learn these things in school. So if you're not learning it at school and your parents aren't teaching you because most of our parents don't even know what they're doing, where are you going to learn it, right?
100%.
Yeah.
So when you have these women coming to you and let's say they are in that place of like feeling shameful.
Yeah.
Like one of my favorite things I've ever heard is it's already when you invest in something and you put the money down, you've already overcome yourself.
Yeah.
Because you've already taken the first step to be like, okay, I am bigger than whatever emotions, energy I'm feeling to go and do something about it.
Yeah.
So these people, they've already taken a big step to come and work with you, right?
Yeah.
But like when you first see them and then you see how they grow, like what in their confidence or their spirit changes?
Yeah, they a lot of the women go through such a massive transformation where sometimes when I first work with them, I pay attention to body language. Like they're not making eye contact. They're kind of like shriveled up in their chair. Whereas by the end of like the 3 or 6 months, they're like so confident. They're so secure. at the end of it, women are telling me, Gina, I want to invest in this and I want to invest in it because of X, Y, and Z. Like the fees are low. It's invested in the S&P 500. I want exposure to Europe. It's so crazy to see like when you take the education and you teach them the financial acumen, how secure they are at the end because they know how to make their own decisions. So I would say, yeah, sometimes women come to me and they're feeling a bit uncomfortable or they feel nervous at first, but I make them feel comfortable. And then because I'm so heavy on the financial education and teaching them, it's like a natural progression. And you do see that glow up. Like I call it a financial glow up.
It is a glow up.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Okay, so earlier we were kind of talking about like just the type of people that you work with. You work with a lot of South Asian people.
Yeah.
Did you assume that you were going to work with a lot of South Asian people, or like what was your experience like with that?
No, I never thought that when I created my platform. There's two things. I never thought that when I created my platform, I would attract so many South Asian women. But I think the reason that happened is because I was so publicly outspoken about my challenges as a South Asian woman and how I grew up, and like alcoholism is a huge thing in our culture, yet it's so taboo to talk about. But you see a brown girl talking about it, and then all of a sudden all the other brown girls are like, wait a minute, like my childhood was like that, or I'm dealing with that right now.
And can I pause you there? Like okay, so ownership of your story, right?
Yeah.
You have a big story.
Yeah.
How did you get to a point where you were like, or what were those moments where you're like, yo, I got to own my story. I got to put my story out there.
I would say I shared it once, and the first time I shared it, there was validation because there were women right away in my DM saying, I resonate with this, thank you. And the more and more I started sharing it, the more and more those numbers started to rise where I'm like, I have to share my story because every time I do, it helps another woman that's in a vulnerable position, or it just helps validate another woman where maybe she's in a toxic, abusive relationship where the man's controlling the finances. Maybe her stepdad's an alcoholic and he's abusive and she wants to leave. It's like the more I started sharing it, there was constant validation. And I feel like this mission is so much more bigger than me. Like I look at the MMG like it's a legacy project. Like it's something that's going to live on long before or after I do. And it changes lives. And then I would start working with women where, you know, sometimes they're in abusive relationships and they're like, Gina, I left my house today with my kids because of you. Like I have an emergency savings. I bought a complex or an apartment downtown, and that's something I always wanted to do. Women are like, I started a business. I never thought I could do this. And because of you, I'm like traveling all across the world. So that type of validation, like that's not something I could have ever received.
You can't ask for it.
No.
It's just like when it comes, you're just like, holy shit.
Yeah. I'm like, I have to keep doing this. Like, I have to keep making my message louder, and I need to scale as much as I can so that more women can hear it.
And as you've scaled, like, what's changed in your business? Like, and what I mean by that is like, what are the offerings that have changed? Like, how have you actually scaled this message, this education, this opportunity? Because you're only one person.
I'm only one person. So something that I've done over the years, because when I first started, I'm such a I'm just gonna go. I'm like, I'm a really good money coach. Like, I know that when women talk to me, like, I'm giving them good advice, right? But it wasn't structured at first. So then I started sitting down and I probably worked with 500 women. I'm like, I need to systemize this because every woman needs a budget. Every woman needs an emergency savings. Every woman needs to understand how registered plans work. So after I worked with my first 500 women, I built a program. So I essentially built a very intensive curriculum where they would go and work with me for 6 months. And by the end of the 6 months, I had essentially condensed my 10 years or decade of experience into a 6-month program, where by the end of it, when women graduate out of this program, although they can come back to me, they never do because they're so good at managing their money. Like the only time women come back to me is when, unfortunately, they're getting divorced and now their financial situation is changing. So I would say scaling started when I built the systems.
And the sign of a good coach, to me, is somebody who you don't want them to be reliable on you.
Yeah.
You want them to be empowered so that they can go do this shit on their own.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's such a crazy stat because they're so self-sufficient after. And women are always like, at the beginning, they're like, but if I need access to you, like, can I ask you a question? I'm like, yeah, go ahead. And the crazy part is they finish, they never come back unless there's like a major life change. So after I created the 6-month program, then I started creating more programs that were really micro-focused. Like if a woman just wants to start investing, I created a 3-month program. It's a white glove service where I start working with them. And by the end of the 3 months, they understand how to invest. They have the financial education to continue investing, but all of their investments are set up and automated, so they don't even have to lift a finger. And then now I'm about to launch like a Rich Girl Academy, which is like the course side of things, because again, as one person, I can only work with so many people. And in order to scale, I need to create a system where even if they can't work one-on-one with me, they still have access to the help through digital courses.
Yeah. That's fucking amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, okay, let's go back to you. Like, you're building this.
Yeah.
And your life is changing, right? Like you said, like you 3x your income in 3 months. You said?
Yeah.
So like, okay. So now your edges are also expanding of like your own possibilities.
Totally.
And we get what you did in the business, but like how did that change as a person? Because I mean this in the most loving way. It's just like I was telling you a little bit about my background as well. Like whenever you have like real shit happen in your life, like and then your edges get expanded and you're like, oh, like now it's me and I get to decide who I want to be in this life and what I can create. And you see the possibility of that, like things shift. So what shifted for you? Who did you want to become? Like what did you think you were capable of?
I started traveling a lot more. So now I had all this money. And at first, I'm not going to lie, because I started my business when I was, I want to say 25 and I'm 31 now. I was spending a lot of money on tangible things like luxury goods, purses, you know, because those are the things I wanted then. Now, perspective shift. Now over the last like 3 years, I would say, I started spending a lot of my money on travel, and that level of novelty, like being able to move to Florida for 3 months out of the year, escaping seasonal depression in Vancouver, that opened up a whirlwind of opportunities, not only from a networking perspective because of the people that I met, but also that environment shift where I'm like, wow, I have the ability to leave my hometown, live in one of the most expensive places in the States. And it's a level of freedom that I almost want every woman to have. And a lot of women are scared to even make moves like that. So I would say the biggest shift for me is now I'm like a lot more conscious of how I spend my money. I always say that experiences are something that will stay with you for the rest of your life. Whereas like that Louis Vuitton purse or that watch that you're eyeing, like you're going to get it and you're going to wear it or maybe not even wear it. And then the excitement basically wavers and it's no longer there. But those experiences, like me moving to, and even being able to travel to places like Greece and London and leave my hometown for months at a time, those are memories that I will have for the rest of my life. And also what's come out of that is I've expanded as a human being.
And how have you expanded? Because let's talk about the Miami effect.
You're so funny. So I would say it's one, those programs that I talked about that I created, right? That 3-month program, it was an idea that came to me while I was reading a book in Miami. And I would say when I'm back here at home in Surrey, I don't really read books because I'm so busy. I'm so in the hustle bustle. But because I'm like traveling, I'm forcing myself to slow down. I read this book and then this idea came to me where I'm like, I want to create like a rich girl era. Like I want to create like a rich girl academy. So expansion in that sense, it forces you to slow down, especially if you're someone that's naturally a hustler. And then from there, like you get creative, right? And then if you tap into that creativity and you bring it to fruition, you'd be surprised, like even as an entrepreneur, what can come out of that. And then as a person, naturally being in a place like Florida where it's sunny and hot, it makes you want to get in shape because everyone around you is, first of all, 10 out of 10, right?
Oh, I know. One of my best friends lives in Miami and she tells me all about it.
But it's like you genuinely want it. You're not like, oh, like that girl looks so good. Like I want to look like her. No, it's like, it's just a natural byproduct of being in an environment that's hot and warm. And then I'm always outside. Like when I'm out there, I walk everywhere. I barely take Ubers. I definitely don't drive. That's scary, but right? But I walk everywhere. I get like 20,000 steps a day. And like walking is the most underrated way of getting in shape, to be honest. So yeah, it's just a natural byproduct of being there. And when I'm here, it's cold, it's rainy, I don't want to leave my bedroom, I don't want to leave my car. So naturally, I'm not walking as much. I'm probably eating out more. So that environment shift is huge for me.
What do you feel like has changed the most about you as a person and how you relate to yourself and what you think about yourself as you've gone through this journey? So maybe like take me to like what you thought you were capable of 5 years ago versus what you think you're capable of now.
You're asking really good questions.
Thank you.
So 5 years ago, I thought I was going to move up the corporate ladder, first of all. So I would say my mindset shift was massive in the sense that, not to say that there's anything wrong with this. Like maybe you do want to move up the corporate ladder, but like that was my end all be all. Like I wanted to move up into HR, maybe be an HR manager, oversee a team of like 50 people, maybe become a financial planner. Now I'm like, hold up, like I want to impact women all across the globe. It's not just women across Canada. I personally do believe I'm one of the top money coaches in Canada for women, but I don't want to stop there. Like, I want to be like the Ramit Sethi. Like, I want to be like the next Tori Dunlap. Like, my ideas and like vision for myself and the expansion that I see and the impact I see myself making. 5 years ago, I'd be like, ha ha ha, like, there's no way I'm going to start a podcast. Like, hee hee hee, there's no way I'm going to have worked and impacted over 1 million female lives over the span of 5 years, right? Because over the last 5 years through my podcast, social media, mentorship, and courses, like, I've impacted over 1 million women through all of those areas. I can see the stats. So now I think the sky's the limit. And when I see another woman on social media, for example, there's Afnan Khalifa. She's based out of Dubai. She's like a really big, she has a big brand, but she teaches branding. I'm like, if she can do it, why can't I do it, right? So it changes the way you think. I'm like, there's no reason I can't be like the top money coach in the world.
Why can't I?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Though I really don't think there's no reason I will do it.
No,
like I tell myself I'm going
believe
to do it. Yeah.
You know, even as somebody who, because I read Ramit Sethi's book, I think 3 times.
Yeah.
Dude, I was laughing on the streets. I thought I was a psycho, but I think because he's so funny.
He is funny.
Like, it's like easy to digest his shit.
Yeah.
And he taught me a lot about like spend relentlessly on the shit that you love. Don't spend on the shit that you don't.
That is
so,
what
like,
he preaches.
Right? So I'm like, okay, I like clean food, these things. So
Yeah.
I will spend relentlessly on that. Other things I don't care about.
Yeah.
I just like couldn't care less about it. Balloons for my birthday, dollar store.
Yeah.
Like, I don't give a fuck,
Yeah.
right? But I love your content because it is so rare as a Canadian it's so rare to hear information from a woman.
Yeah.
But it is also so rare as a Canadian to find really sound financial advice. I don't know if advice is how I would say it, a financial education from a Canadian person who knows our accounts.
Yeah.
Who knows how to like build
right.
stuff here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is a big takeaway because, there aren't that many women in this space, in the money coaching space. And especially as a South Asian woman, like I always tell myself, I am going to be like the top money coach, especially as a South Asian woman. And it's just about making it relatable. Like the reason that you enjoyed reading Ramit's book is because it was easy to digest. And that's how finance needs to be.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to be mansplained. There doesn't need to be all this jargon. Like it needs to be relatable. And that's what people want. And it's not something that they're getting at the bank. So a lot of these money coaching services, it's like bridging what the bank isn't offering that people really, really desire.
A thought that's coming up for me is like, you know, like with Kim Kardashian, for example, she's a glamazon, right? But then she is doing law. And a question that she got asked in an interview was like, how does it feel to be sexy and then also be so smart?
Yeah.
And that's kind of like something that's percolating for me because you're a beautiful woman. You love being beautiful.
Yeah.
So it's like, how has it been navigating the space that is so like male dominated as a beautiful woman?
It has been difficult. I'm not going to lie. And something that I've always done with my brand is making it bold, feminine, and sexy because as women, I always say we're multidimensional, we're multifaceted. You can't put women into boxes. And when traditionally you are a woman in the finance space, you think suited up, turtleneck, blazer. But I'm changing that. And that narrative actually triggers a lot of men and women. I know earlier when we were talking, I said, people won't ever say things to me with their chest, but they will say it behind fake accounts. So men will often be like, there's no way a woman that looks like you knows anything about finance. So there's a lot of judgment there. But I always let people underestimate me because I know the minute I start talking and the minute I start giving, I start coaching my clients or sharing my knowledge, then they're like, okay, mic drop. Like she knows what she's talking about, right? And I've also seen the numbers increase. Like I know women love learning from me and like my summit was a reflection of that. Like 200 women flew out and joined us this past weekend. And it's like most people, like anytime I have haters, I'm like, would anyone even show up to listen to you talk for free?
Yeah.
Right? Or nevertheless
Facts.
pay to come listen to you, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I would say being a woman that is smart, like I encourage women to, like if you are a woman that is feminine, but you're intelligent, like you can be all of those things. Let's normalize that. And I think a lot of women often feel like they have to like almost they can't show off like that feminine side of them.
And that's why I'm asking, right? It's like, it's almost like they feel like they have to be this like single like dimension.
Yes.
But I love the fact that you're multidimensional and I love the fact that you put that on the forefront because I think that it's permission giving.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like so many more women who, let's say, like, okay, you know, like the pretty tax, like,
Yeah.
oh, like, you know, you're beautiful, but how can you have anything smart to say? It's like, not enough people look at like that and
Yeah.
like, well,
Yeah.
hey, I'm capable of more than just being a beautiful person.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I would say that's one of the reasons my platform has grown, and also why I've had so many South Asian women follow me, because a lot of women can relate to that. And they're like, wait a minute, this girl is talking about money. She's really smart. But then, hey, she's also like, you know, dressing like herself. Like, if I'm living in Miami, I'm going to post pictures in my bikini. I'm never going to look like this again. I sure as hell won't be doing it when I'm 60, right?
Yeah.
Well, hopefully I will. But you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like, I'm going to own it, right? And I think sometimes that triggers people because they want that. But then on the other end, there's other women are like, hey, like, if she can do it, I can do it too. So it's creating a safe space for them to like be themselves.
I also think women just being in the creative world, like I think everything is made for the women's gaze.
Yeah.
Like every guy will be like, or every brand is like, will the girls like it?
Yeah.
And I think women just love beautiful things.
They do.
So it's like to have a brand that's so beautiful is so important. And like your brand is something that I think is very beautiful, and you put a lot of time and energy into it. So talk to me about the invisible ROI of investing in your brand.
That's such a good question. So I've actually been working with a branding strategist for the last 3 years, and she knows the ins and outs of my business, even as it evolves. So investing in my brand has been huge and a brand isn't just a logo. I think a lot of people often think like, oh, it's just a pretty logo that you make on Canva, or it's like certain color schemes and fonts. It's so much more than that. Your brand is conviction. It's how people think, see, and feel when they look at you and everything that you represent. It evokes emotions out of them. I would argue that because I've invested so much time, money, and energy into my brand, I was able to sell out my summit this year like this because of that invisible investment. But it didn't happen overnight. It's been ongoing over the last like 3 years.
Do you feel like you always had value for brand, or do you feel like your value for brand grew over time?
Like, I think I always valued it, but at first I was like, I can do this all myself.
Yeah.
Right?
And you do have to sometimes just do it all by yourself.
Yeah, because you're a small business owner, you're wearing all the hats. So at first, I made my little dinky logo on Canva, and I was like, these are the colors that I'm gonna pick. And honestly, my brand has developed over time. I probably rebranded 4 times. Now I'm finally done because I like love everything like the essence of it. But I would say, at the beginning, I was doing it all myself. Then when I put enough money aside and my business was growing, I'm like, hey, I'm gonna delegate this to a professional. And the beauty of it is I brought this other person in, her name's Summan. I brought her into my business, and she created things that I could never even think of. So sometimes you have to be willing to trust the professionals because they have an eye for it. And once they understand your business and what you're promoting, they could create something that your brain could probably never even calculate on its own.
Yeah, because that's their edge, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, so as we've been chatting, like, is there anything that's coming to mind that you're like, oh, this is like percolating, or that like I wish that women knew about finance, or just even the entrepreneurial journey?
I would say starting sooner than later, and that applies to anything, whether you want to launch a business, whether you want to start investing. And I think the biggest when it comes to investing, one of the reasons that women don't start is because they assume they need a lump sum to start with. But you'd be surprised, starting with $100 a week, doing it weekly for 40 years, investing it into an ETF that returns 10% on average, you could end up a millionaire after 40 years. So starting sooner is better than not starting at all or putting it off. And then when it comes to starting a business, if there's something that is constantly on your brain, like it's always in the back of your mind, bring it to fruition. Like, what are you scared of? Are you scared of what people are going to think about you? And I think as South Asian women, we're conditioned to really think about what people will think of us. And that stops a lot of South Asian women from starting a side hustle or a business. But I always say, start something. Stay consistent with it. After 2 years of doing something every single day, there's absolutely no reason for you not to see results.
That judgment piece, right? Like, what's the mindset shift?
That happened for me, or in general, would you say?
Just in general, like even for you, like it sounds like I understand where your mindset shift came from. From what I'm understanding is that like you saw the impact of your not being afraid of people's judgment.
Exactly.
So like if though you're talking to somebody who is afraid of judgment, especially in the South Asian community, like what's the mindset shift there?
I would say every single person that starts something, especially if it's purpose-driven and they are starting a business model where the goal is to help someone, because typically that is the case, right? you will impact someone's life. And when you see the impact that you're making, it will propel you forward in a direction where you don't care what anyone thinks. And I always say, like, my mindset shift happened because I'm like, well, this person isn't paying my bills. They don't put a roof over my head. They're actually adding absolutely no value to my life. And whether I do this or not, they're going to be talking shit about something. So just do it.
100%.
Right?
Like, how is this actually impacting me?
Yeah. We get so in our head about things. And I would say, like, when you find yourself getting in your head, like, journaling is a really great tactic. Just like when you're in your head, like, really just take a step back and think about, like, why am I thinking these things? And whether I do this, make this decision or not, are these people still going to behave and react in this manner? Yeah, they're probably just going to find something else to talk about. Right?
Yeah. I feel like you have invested so much into yourself. Like, when you think about investing in yourself, whether it's your mindset, your time, your energy, your literacy around different things, like, why is it so important to invest in you?
Again, a really good question. I'm probably saying that every 5 seconds. It's really important to invest in yourself. One, because I always say, if you're not willing to invest in yourself, why would anyone ever invest in you? And that goes in so many different ways. Like, most of us all desire companionship. But if you're not willing to invest in yourself, your mental health, your physical health, is anyone going to want to be with you, right? Like, the best work that you can do is the inner work. And when you do the inner work, it affects you in every which way of your life, whether it's romantic partnerships, whether it's in business, whether it's building those solid friendships or that community that we all desire as women. So the inner work is so important because it affects everything around you. And just like anything in life, when you start doing it and you start to see the positive ramifications or the positive results of, like, actually doing that inner work, it just propels you. It's like the wheels are running now. You know what I mean?
100%. You know, that actually reminded me of something I wanted to ask you earlier is you talked about, like, a man is not a business plan, a financial plan. Like, talk to me about that, because I think that I'm a millennial, right? So it's like, I think, right? Like, we watch so many movies where it's like the man is the financial plan. And that's actually something that I had to, like, deconstruct from when I realized that was something in my mindset, I was like, where the fuck did this come from?
Right.
But, like, talk to me about that one. Like, how do people get out of that, and what is that?
So a lot of women think that a man is going to come and save them. And that might be because we grew up watching all these fairy tales where, like, the man was always the savior. It might also be because traditionally your father was the provider in the household, although that isn't always the case. But oftentimes women think that, one, because finance is such a male-dominated space, that it's the man's job. But now the issue is none of us are financially literate from birth. And again, if your parents aren't teaching you and you aren't learning in school, then the likelihood could be that, one, you could end up with a financially illiterate man, where at which point both of you are kind of stuck and you don't know what's going on. But two, we live in, like, the patriarchy. Like, historically, the reason that men controlled the money is because it literally gave them control. So as a woman, if you can become financially educated, you can escape any environment that does not serve you. From an unhealthy relationship with your partner, to an unhealthy home environment, to even an unhealthy job environment. Like, if you know how to make your money work, you don't have to stay at that toxic job, working a 9 to 5, spending 40 hours a week with people you hate, right? It's going to
have choice.
Yeah, you have choice.
Yeah.
So I always say a man isn't a financial plan because, one, you also don't know what life has in store for you. What if tomorrow he ends up chronically ill, and now what? You don't know how to manage your money. You don't know how to pay the bills. You don't even know what bills exist. What is that doing for the both of you, right? Like, yes, we want to be with men that are providers. And I would argue that a man providing for you emotionally is really important, right? But you also, as a woman, need to be his backbone in some component and some degree. And that comes from you being financially educated, or vice versa.
That part, though, I love the fact that you put, because a lot of people can look at this and not put the responsibility on being a healthy partner. Like, you also want to be his backbone.
Yeah, you have to be, right? And, like, I always say, like, yeah, of course, like, I want my man to take care of me, but guess what? The minute that life hits and something goes wrong, maybe he loses his business, maybe, something goes wrong in his life, I'm going to have his back,
because you're also his partner.
Yeah, yes. Right? And that's so important. And a lot of women don't really have that mindset, or they don't think, I think the biggest issue with society is they just don't think that the worst case scenario is ever going to happen. But if you ever introduce interview anyone that's been diagnosed with cancer, anyone that's lost their partner, anyone that's even been cheated on and ended up in a really crappy situation, they never thought it was going to happen to them. But the women that have the financial education and acumen are the ones that can really take control of their lives and turn a shitty life into like a great one.
Yeah. Oh my God, this conversation was so good.
Thank you.
I loved it. If there's somebody on the other side who maybe they're feeling a lot of heat in their body, they're just like, okay, this is like really firing me up. What is your like, yo, go do these 2 things and this is going to help put you, I know you've already said it, but like just reiterate it, put a little bow on it. Like what are some of the first few steps that people can take to kind of work through that heat in their body and just like get going?
I would say the mindset work is huge. Like if this is triggering any emotions, you're feeling really anxious, then it's demonstrating that something that I said is triggering you. And I would recommend like journaling and writing down like, what is it? Is it because I'm carrying debt? Is it because I'm in a relationship where I don't necessarily trust that person, but I also feel like I'm financially relying on them? Really sit there and outline like, what is it about your money that makes you anxious or avoidant or challenges you? Step 2, once you understand what your area of improvement is, make a conscious effort to work on that area, whether it's getting more knowledge by reading books, listening to a podcast, watching YouTube videos, or working with a professional. Step 2 is to make a game plan and then execute that game plan, because we all have certain areas when it comes to our money that maybe we feel a bit nervous about or we don't have enough information. But the best thing that you can do is get that information. And if it's not from a reputable source, I would always recommend working with a professional. It's like hiring like a personal trainer. Like, yeah, you can watch YouTube videos and go to the gym and try to do it yourself, or you can accelerate the pace at which you build your dream body by working with a professional.
Speed. Yeah. How long do you want to be feeling like this?
Exactly.
Yeah. 100%. Gina, where can people find you online?
They can find me on Instagram at I am Gina Judge, and they can also listen to my podcast for more financial tips, and it's called the Millennial Money Guide, or the MMG.
Thank you so much for coming today.
Thank you for having me. This is really good.
Of course.